Leave that.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockeytown University. You are here with us once again, your boys, Matt, Derek, and Zach. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Long hiatus.
Yeah, a little bit of a break there for us there, boys. Wasn't expecting that. I feel like we all just kind of did not get on the right schedule, and we pulled the ultimate guy card, and we are terrible at communication. Unfortunately, that's just kind of what happened. But we're back. Good to see your beautiful, shiny faces again. Matt, your hairless face over there. Zach, your little mustache coming in. I love it. How you guys been doing?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Yeah, we just I think we just forgot that we were doing a podcast, and then we just woke up one morning and we were just like, oh yeah, we're podcasters. That's like our purpose here on Earth is to entertain people and have very commonly incorrect hockey takes. But yeah, we're back, and if you guys were missing us, we're back. Don't worry, you can watch us again. And for the people who hate us, sorry, but we're here and we're not going anywhere. So yeah, good to jump back in with the boys. Should be a good episode today.
Yeah, it feels good to be back, everyone. Honestly. Yeah, I've just been really tired. I got nothing else to say, really.
too.
I just didn't really say anything. I'm like, well, I'm just kind of tired. I just really want to watch hockey without going into depth about it. And it kind of gives us more to talk about, honestly, doing this recording on Sunday, November 19th at 11:30 a.m. currently. So, boys, yeah, welcome back. And let's go ahead and jump right into it, shall we? So, what do we got? Around the league news, Red Wings news, and then obviously the main topics as it says in the title of this video. So, but before we continue, we want to thank you all for joining us once again, wherever you are, whether if that's YouTube or Spotify. We thank you. Rate us, thumb us up, subscribe. If you are new, we appreciate you for joining. If you're returning, thanks for returning. Turns and frowns upside down. And Derek's octopus. Yes. Look at those tentacles. All right. So, what do we got? We're really far behind, obviously. We know that, but we do feel like that this is important to talk about. Net guards. Right before we actually started recording, we were talking about how Derek is the only one who could be a little biased against net guards because he is the one who played the highest form of hockey here. So Derek will kind of be the ball buster in that regard. But yeah, I think net guards are super important. Even before what happened to Adam Johnson, that is super unfortunate. I really do feel for his family. That is super unfortunate what happened, and we don't have to go into detail. But yeah, it's great to see Jake Wallman wearing it. Obviously, quite a few different players in the league are wearing them now too. I guess we can ask the question if you guys feel like the NHL should mandate it, but it's the NHL. I think it's one of those things where you do as you please type of deal. This isn't something that happens a lot, but it's not impossible, as you can see. But yeah, what do you guys think overall? I guess with net guards and how they should be implemented into the league if not enforced.
Well, I do think that neck guards are kind of going to be a thing like when visors started being mandated. I think it was actually, yeah, it was Wayne Gretzky who was talking about it like the week after it happened on TNT that when he came into the league, they started, enforcing visors and he started wearing one. And he had teammates who said, well, we're not going to do that. We haven't been playing with a visor our entire careers. We're not going to start now. And he was just like, well, why? I mean, it's something that will protect you, like kids getting into hockey, they wear visors now because we know that if you get hit with a puck or a stick or honestly, whatever it is, hell, it could be a skate when you get down on the ice in a scrum, that visor is going to protect you. And that's the difference between you having a pretty nasty bruise and, to be quite honest, losing an eye. And obviously, with what happened with the Adam Johnson incident, that was a much bigger loss than just one body part. The guy lost his life. I don't know about you boys, but whenever I watch hockey, it's less so now, but sometimes when I watch it, I still kind of feel like when someone falls over, I'm just like, oh geez, I really hope this isn't going to be bad. Like it was hard to watch hockey after that. Like the week after, it was really hard. Like I watched a few minutes of a Red Wings game and I was just like, I can't watch this. It just feels too weird right now. But yeah, I do like to answer your question. I think neck guards will be mandated at some point in the NHL. I mean, it's already happening. I think it's in the WHL that they're already mandated. And it's probably going to be something that's grandfathered in. You're going to have veterans, like how we have Ryan O'Reilly. He doesn't wear a visor because I don't know, for some reason he didn't have to. The rule kind of passed him by, and he can choose whether or not to do it. But I do think at some point it is going to be mandated because we can't have incidents like this anymore. And I don't think it's going to stop at neck guards. I think it's going to be ankle guards, wrist guards. I mean, I remember, I think it was last year or 2 years ago when Evander Kane got cut by the skate of, I don't remember who it was, but it was up for a long time. I mean, that's almost a career-ending injury. Thank God he was able to get stitched up and come back, and he's still playing to this day. But yeah, it's scary. I mean, I think we forget we watch hockey so often. These guys are literally running around with knives on their feet. Like, that is insane. They just have weapons on their feet. And like we saw a few weeks ago, that's what happens, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm one for neck guard mandates for sure.
It's one of those scary topics that you don't want to have to get into or you don't want to have to think about because it's one of those incidences that doesn't usually happen that much in hockey, even though I'm pretty sure a week before it was Barrow that got a skate up into his face and almost lost his eye during a game. And we all see what happens when we just wear half visors at that point because it's an easy thing to get underneath. Your face is not protected. People don't wear neck guards. Your neck's not protected. From playing hockey for all my life, I hated neck guards. I'm not going to lie. Most uncomfortable things to wear ever. Most of the time, I would get the neck guard, slice off the back of it, pull out all the stuffing on the inside, so I'd have this little piece of felt around my neck. That's all it said I needed on for the ice, and I was like, okay, we're going to do that. That way I couldn't even notice I had a neck guard on. Obviously, never took a skate to the neck or a puck to the neck, thank God, which, obviously, taking a puck to the neck is a whole different thing than a skate. The neck guard is basically there just to protect you from, obviously getting your throat slit. That's basically what it's there meant to do. It's not going to stop the impact of a puck. That's just, they don't have enough technology to stop that kind of thing, unfortunately for us. So
could you imagine though? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just what it is. You take that shot to the neck, it's not going to look pretty. But, you take a skate to that, it's going to protect you. So unfortunately, in the long run right now, it's something that they're going to have to look into. They're going to have to make sure that all their players are protected because when you're playing hockey, you take those inherent risks. You, like Matt said, you have blades on the bottom of your feet. It's what keeps them up on the ice out there. Try skating out, walking out there with just shoes, you fall on your face. They have blades that are sharp enough to crack through that ice. You hear it out there when they're skating, them cutting through with those blades. That shit's sharp. And they get sharpened pretty much before every single game, so they can continuously do that. I mean, I'm all for the neck guard nowadays, just because I'm older and I know what it actually does. And I'm also hoping that they start, because you see a lot of players nowadays with like the lawn, like the what's it called, like like the lawn sleeve shirts underneath that have the carbon fiber now.
Yeah, the cut shirt.
Yeah, a lot of players now with the lawn turtlenecks going up, all the way going down to the sleeves. I feel like a couple guys on the Red Wings even have that going on now. And I think that's just where the league has to go with it. Like, obviously, it's going to be a touchy subject for a while, and a lot of people won't like to do it, but you'll get used to it. That's just the main thing. People don't want to get used to it. They have to get used to it. Play with it for a year. You won't notice a difference. So I'm all in on getting neck guards going again. I obviously hated them when I was younger. You see what happens. It's just something that has to get initiated now.
Yeah. For me, I will agree with Leslie. I guess with you too, Derek. That like I guess for me, eventually I do see the league making it regulated that you do have to wear some form of protection on your neck, maybe wrists or ankles as well. In the future, I do know that there was a specific NHL player, I can't remember who it was, that actually had their own neck guard protection wear, and they sold out within that week of that incident, right? And so, I mean, shoot, if you were someone who was, an entrepreneur or just like owned a business and hockey gear, and that happened, and you said, I need to buy or make a bunch of these neck guards, I'm going to sell out really quick. A lot of companies did. They sold out really quickly. And so now they see a huge demand in that. And so a lot of these companies now are trying to figure out ways on how to get into the NHL. And provide comfortable wear for these players. Because with net guards, Derek, I mean, is it more just a comfortability thing, or do net guards actually immobile your ability to play at all, or is it, like I said, just a comfortability thing? Because if that's the case, then net guards, I can foresee them being enforced in the NHL in the future.
That's the worst of it. It's really just the comfortability at this point. That's all I went through when I was playing. It was slightly uncomfortable, so you made it more comfortable to play with. Nowadays, you don't have to wear it. Extreme comfort, a lot more liability apparently at the other end of that. So they just have to get over the fact that they'll be slightly uncomfortable for like 4 or 5 games until they get used to it.
Now, I do know that there is material out there in the world that is not necessarily cut proof, but there is something out there that is material like that can help prevent or at least decrease the intensity of a cut from a skate, right? If you do end up getting cut in the neck from a skate. So if you can get that material made into something that doesn't cost like $250+ parents might even pay that to protect their child. I mean, I don't know what the cost is that parents will go in lengths to protect their child from taking a skates in the neck or anywhere on their body for that matter. But, eventually that's something that's got to be figured out. And yeah, I'll agree with you guys that I do think it's enforced down the line. But let's go ahead and move on and let's talk about Edmonton firing their coach. And I'm drawing a blank on his name, so you guys are going to have to remind me. But also, whoever put this in here on the notes is asking, is McDavid staying with the losing team of the Edmonton Oilers? And I want to add on to it, when is Ken Holland getting fired? And did we really see this coming as soon as Ken Holland left us to go over to Edmonton? And I'll start off. I'll say, we saw what he did with us and how he handled the team after all the cup wins. As soon as the salary cap came in, he just really didn't know how to handle it. And then going to a team with 2 of the best players in the whole entire world, he had less really to deal with too. So, I mean, he just really didn't know what he was doing. And from our point of view, he was always that kind of guy who I'd rather risk giving more to someone than losing them that I already have. Darren Helm, Justin Abdelkader are good examples. Jonathan Ericsson even. And so he's done that with the Edmonton Oilers now. Darnell Nurse is a good example. And I'm sure there's probably a couple other ones on there as well. But I want to hear from you guys on the coach firing. I think it's fine, the coach firing, but I think overall this team was just built horribly wrong, and I think it's mainly Ken Holland and not so much the coaching. But you got to put the blame on someone. So, what do you guys think?
I mean, it's a fun one right now. They got rid of Woodcroft after he put out that statement saying he was still very comfortable about his position there, and he was only fired, 2 days later? I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. Then they literally brought in the exact opposite of what all coaches are basically in the league, with the Mr. Rogers minus the cardigan with Chris Knobloch. Like, apparently he's supposed to be the kindest, most generous coach out there who just goes on, gives you praise instead of focusing on your flaws. I'm like, that could work out. Never seen any coaches really do that in the NHL, especially after our little scandal over in Columbus there. A little bit of a different vibe going on, but I like it.
Oh, yeah.
But at this point, what do you really do? You had the best players in the world on your team. You have a couple of horrible deals, obviously, with Darnell Nurse, and we have Campbell, who's down in the AHL just getting destroyed, apparently, for 5
I knew I was forgetting one. Campbell, too. Yeah. That guy
can't forget about that deal. Holy crap. And, if I was McDavid or Draisaitl, just sitting there, what's happening? You guys you have the top producers literally in the NHL. You can't win games. What is supposed to happen? Of course, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get rid of your head coach, try something new. Next, coming up is going to get rid of the GM, because obviously Ken Holland not doing what he's supposed to be doing over there. We saw it with the Red Wings. He tries to put all his eggs in a basket, and when that basket messes up, the whole team collapses basically, and that's what we're seeing with Edmonton right now, with all these horrific deals that he's made, minus McDavid and Draisaitl. Obviously, he has them at good points, but they only have a couple more years. So, are they going to be able to turn it around with a brand new coach in 1 year? I highly doubt it. Like, what are they going to do? Get a random goalie from the AHL that's no one's heard about that just blows up on them? I don't think so. I feel like McDavid might be looking for a new hometown coming up for this new deal. I feel the boy needs a Stanley Cup with his name on it, and he frankly does deserve it. You can't be that good without getting something like that in return.
I'll agree that I do think that any team is gonna want to pay him. They'll do anything to get a Connor McDavid. And I'm sorry, Matt. I know it's your turn. I just wanted to say this. I think that Connor McDavid will go to the open market and see. I mean, I give him the max, whatever it is. If it's $15-16 million, I would give it to him. Easy. And then just figure out the rest later.
Yeah, the fact that I'm already like, Woodcroft, sorry. The fact that Woodcroft got fired for this slow start to the season is just the biggest panic button move of all time to me. I think we all know who is the one who is turning this Edmonton Oilers into a dumpster fire. I mean, Woodcroft is not the one who signed Jack Campbell, who can't stop a beach ball. He's not the one who signed Connor Brown to play with McDavid, who has 0 points this season.
Connor Brown's another one, yes.
He's not the one who signed Darnell Nurse until 2029 for $9.25 million. I could go on and on. There's more examples. He's not the one who's whiffed on every single first-round pick since he's taken over. No, that's our boy Kenny Holland.
Oh, and then they fired their director of scouting too. That used to be with the Red Wings. What's his name?
Tyler Wright. Yep.
Yeah. They fired Tyler Wright too.
It's just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. That's what it is. I mean, if to answer your question, when Ken Holland should be fired, if they miss the playoffs this year, that dude has got to he's got to be gone. I don't see how he could stay. I really don't.
I would say even if they do make the playoffs, I think if they don't win a Stanley Cup, that he has to get fired. In my personal opinion, I've been saying that for quite some time now. You have the two best players in the world. You have to win a cup. But this is now my next question, and I know that you have more to say, Leslie, but I want to ask this. Okay, there's obviously something going on with these Canadian teams. They really, really, really love their offense, right? So you look at the Edmonton Oilers, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Zach Hyman, and Evander Kane. Then you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? And you know who's on over there. Then you look at teams like Montreal. They got some pretty good forwards, right? And then you look at the Sens. You see what they have.
Nothing.
Which Canadian team has the best defense?
Oh boy, that's honestly maybe Vancouver. Vancouver's not that bad. I mean, they have Quinn Hughes, who is a pretty good defenseman, but I think it's more so just his scoring more so than his defense. That's a hard question to answer. Maybe Winnipeg. Yeah, did you say Winnipeg? Yeah, I would say Winnipeg too. I mean, on Calgary kind of stinks, but their defense isn't that bad. But also, they do want to get out of there apparently. So maybe not Calgary. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the hell's happening up in Canada. I don't know what is making all these teams so mid right now. I really don't. Well, I know one of them. It's Ken Holland, but other than that, I have no idea.
What'd you say, Derek?
I was going to say, on paper, it would probably have been the Ottawa Senators before the season started, and now if you look at it, it's not as pretty.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you can't count them out. That's for sure, especially after what we just witnessed over in Sweden, and we'll get to that eventually. But let's So do you think McDavid's going to stay with the Oilers then, Matt?
Well, another thing I want to say about McDavid is, like, for his standards, this is kind of a down year for him. He's got 13 points in 14 games. He's got 4 goals. Like, that's crazy. I feel like last year at this time, he was up to like 15 or something. He might be playing hurt. I don't really know. Yeah. I remember there was a little, maybe not a rumor, but I think it was a report that he had some sort of injury before they played Calgary in that outdoor game. And for whatever reason, he didn't sit out. He was hurt for 2 weeks. Yeah, and he kept playing. I mean, I don't know why. Doesn't really make sense to me that he kept playing this early in the season. Maybe he just thought, we're down by so much, I have to just do whatever I can. I mean, let's be honest. Ever
They look
since,
bad. They
yeah,
looked
no, they
bad
look bad.
without him.
Yeah, they look bad. I mean, ever since that guy has been on this team, he's basically just had to shoulder all the work. I don't think that's any secret. But yeah, it's no secret that he's kind of been down this year. I mean, Draisaitl, he's at 20, I think he's at 20 points, but he's not scored as much as he usually does. So, when you don't have any goaltending whatsoever and your scoring is down, let's just do some quick math. That does not equate to a good team. I mean, this team lost to the San Jose Sharks. Like, come on. They're going to be worse than the 1920 Red Wings. Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, yeah, if this team does not make the playoffs, or like you said, Zach, even if they do make the playoffs and don't win a cup, Ken Holland cannot stay. He just
No.
can't. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but that's a whole separate conversation. So
He's just really bad at making, or he's really good at making bad moves, I should say it that
that's
way.
exactly
So,
right.
yeah. Let's go ahead and move on. I think Derek was the one who put this in here, and yes, it's still relevant to this day. Patrick Kane is still on the Red Wings watch list. Adam Pateau, I think I said that right, from the Hockey News writes Toronto, Buffalo, and Detroit are main teams to look at. Toronto being the only place where Kane would be most likely be getting first line minutes, replacing Matthew Nyes on the top line potentially. I mean, yeah, that's since Bertuzzi isn't working out for them on the top line. He's been working out pretty well, I guess they said, with Tavares and Nylander on the second line. So it does seem like that there is a spot on the top line. And if you're going into the playoffs, is Nyes the answer that you want on your top line? Probably not. If you can bump him down to the third, or someone like Bertuzzi down to the third, I do think that would work out well for Toronto. However, and I said this about the New York Rangers last year, but Toronto has a worse defense than New York Rangers did last year. Is adding Patrick Kane actually going to bump them up that much more into the playoffs? And I would say no. I think if it's going to bump anyone up in the standings, it's going to be Detroit or Buffalo. But if you're Patrick Kane and if you want a best chance at the cup, it's Toronto, right? And so, but for the way that the Wings have looked since the last time we've recorded, yeah, I think we kind of need a Patrick Kane, at least in terms of scoring. I don't want to say what I want to say right now because I kind of want to save it towards the end, but I guess I can say it. The Red Wings just in general have been struggling. I mean, in the last 7 games, they've only put up 3 first period goals. That
God,
they're 2-3-2 in that time. They definitely could use some help with scoring, but I do think that their biggest need isn't just the scoring. So, I don't need a Patrick Kane. I want him, but I don't need him, and I don't think that he answers our problems that we're currently facing. So, what do you guys think?
Well, I would be a lot more receptive to this if we were talking 4 years ago of signing him rather than now after he has really only one functioning hip. I mean, I have no doubt that he could still contribute offensively. It's really only a matter of how much he could. I don't think he's going to be that 70, 80, even a 60-point player at this point with, number one, how long he's been out, and number two, of course, the hip surgery that I just talked about. I mean, we just saw Backstrom go through that in Washington, who I think is slightly older, maybe the same age as Patrick Kane, and he may not play again. So the fact that he just went through that surgery and had all this recovery, that kind of scares me a little bit. And, you're not signing this guy and just being like, well, if he can't score and get up to game speed, he can at least defend, right? He's literally never once defended it his entire career. So we're not going to get that either. And I think at this point, yes, it's no secret we do need offense. I mean, even in the Senators game, he still scored 4 goals. It just happened way too late in the game. But yeah, we watched Sherratt and Petrie just basically look like they were lost out there for the entire game and just blow assignments and be in the wrong position constantly. I don't know how you can watch that and just be like, you know what this team needs? We need a one-way forward who can maybe score a little bit. No, man. We need Edmonton up there. We need whoever the hell else is down. How about Johansson? You come up too. You can't be worse than Petrie. Definitely not worse than Sherratt. But yeah, I don't know. I think this team, the scoring has been a little better than last year. I mean, it's still not where it should be, but we do have some players, like obviously we have DeBrincat. What is he at 12 goals now this season? Raymond has been on fire. Like he's scored twice in the Sweden game. So I think the offense, if we can get Larkin going a little bit, he's kind of been a little stagnant. If we can just get everybody going, I think the offense will be fine. But we need defense. We definitely need goaltending. We're going to talk about Reimer later. What the hell were you doing, dude? I'm getting ahead of myself. It's not time to talk about that yet. But I guess that's my long-winded answer of saying no, I don't want Patrick Kane. I don't think he will help us.
Oh, those blinds sure would come in handy now with that sun shining bright into your face, wouldn't it, Matt?
I picked the worst place ever to do a podcast. This is how rusty I am that I don't know where the hell to record.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get through this together, buddy. Moving along. So, well, actually, Derek, no, your take on Patrick Kane. My bad, buddy. I'm even jumping too far ahead. My bad.
All right, Patrick Kane. To keep my story short, keep my story short, we're gonna go with me just saying basically, we don't need Patrick Kane anymore. We're doing okay in the goal area. He would only fit in our second line right now. That's the only place because obviously our first line cemented in pretty well with DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond up there. I would not change any of that up. And the real reason that, let's be honest, that Kane wants to come over here is to play with DeBrincat. And we probably won't let that happen anymore. If he wants to come over for $3 million and sit on the second line, I will take it all day because that'll be like a 50-point scorer down there, even with his blown out hip. But at the same time, like Matt said, not our biggest problem that we're facing right now. Our goalies are doing so much worse than what we were hoping for. We're doing pretty well in goal scoring, 3, 4, 5 a game. There's just certain things that are getting let through that shouldn't be getting let through a lot, like we saw in the Ottawa game, which we'll talk about in just a second here. So overall, I'm just going to go with no Kane right now. I don't think we really need him. Not going to be worth the money we have to throw down for 2 years for a broken old man.
It sounds like it's pretty concise that I don't think any of us said that we want Kane at this point. Now, I do know that some of us might have said yes prior. This isn't the first time we've talked about Patrick Kane to the Wings, right? And so I said yes originally, and so now I'm saying no because I definitely think that, like you guys have said, the defense and the goaltending have not been there, and so I think those are bigger priorities than us scoring more. And Matt's right, we have been scoring pretty well compared to previous years in the past, and so yeah, no Patrick Kane, sorry, go to Toronto and get knocked down the first or second round with them. That'll be fun to watch. And so let's go into Red Wings news. I mean, yeah, Red Wings news. Seider gets his 100th point in his career and is third fastest to reach, and is the third fastest to reach that point mark in franchise history. Jesus, I don't know why I stumbled right there. That was intense. Only behind Reed Larson and Nicholas Lidstrom. Congratulations, Seider. That's awesome. Go Mo.
You guys heard it here first. Reed Larson is better than Nick Lidstrom.
Yeah.
Apparently in something. He is in something.
Reed Larson's also better than Bobby Orr because everyone always says that Bobby Orr is better than Lidstrom. Lidstrom's better than Bobby Orr. So nope, everyone got it wrong. It's Reed
Bobby
Larson.
Orr, certified bum.
Let's see. Dylan Larkin also plays in 600th game of his NHL career against the Ottawa Senators on Thursday. And then Matt, I think it was Matt who put this in here about the Griffins. Was that Derek?
That was
Derek. All in here. Derek puts in here that the Griffins are blowing, and they're 5-7-2 right now. Hirose has 4 goals, 12 points in 13 games. Gattinger has 6 goals, 8 points in 11 games. Kosa has a 3.16 goals against average and an 8.98 save percentage in 7 games. I guess you can say as the starter, since he's played one more game than Hutchinson, who has a 3.65 goals against average and an 8.82 save percentage in 6 games. Letzman was brought up actually recently for one game, and in that one game, he put up a 2.14 goals against average and a 9.23 save percentage. So did Hutchinson get injured, or did they send him down to Toledo?
I think he just sucks. Sounds like.
It looks like
Sounds like
from
he's
the
just
time
not very
I'm
good.
seeing here.
I get that, but where did he go?
I
Is
don't
what
know,
I'm
man.
asking.
Great question. Because
He went to the Shadow Realm.
Leatherman
The
only
Shadow
played 30
Realm.
minutes of that game. He started halfway through, so he got pulled out. Obviously, that's why the saves were so little at 13 out of 12. Not great, but yeah, I wonder what happened because Hutchinson had to have played that game and got pulled out.
So in terms of the Grand Rapids Griffins, they have not looked very good. I guess that they've been struggling to get the younger players to score. Obviously, like I just mentioned, Hiroshi has no problem putting up the points. He's got 12 in 13 games. Even someone like Ender has 8 and 11. But I do know someone like Marco Casper has kind of been struggling. He's got, I think this is correct, 3 points in 12 games. Elite Prospects currently is not working for me for whatever reason. I think that's the same case for everyone else. But even players like Albert I don't know if Albert Johansson's injured, but he hasn't been in the lineup, I've noticed.
He's played a few games, like 3 games, I think.
Cross Hannes has 3 points in 12 games.
Really, one of
the Elmer Soderblom has 4 points in 12 games. Really, the only bright spot that I see playing in Grand Rapids would be Berggren, who has 6 points in 8 games, and then Simon Edvinsson, who has 5 points in 12 games as a defenseman. Apparently, I can't speak on Simon Edvinsson or anyone else for Grand Rapids. I have not watched any of those games, but from what I've heard online is that Simon Edvinsson does look really good. However, there are some things that he just needs to work on. So let's talk about that for a second. Are we comfortable enough to allow him to work on those things in the NHL at this point? Or do we want him to get... Yes, I see your head shaking, Matt, and I kind of agree with you, but also looking at it this way is, why are we taking him from one struggling team and putting him on, I guess technically, the Red Wings aren't a struggling team, but why are we taking him and putting him onto the Red Wings then? Because I can make the argument saying that I think he needs to figure that out with Grand Rapids and try to become a leader in Grand Rapids and help the team improve as well as himself. And so I don't think that it would be right to take him from Grand Rapids, a struggling team, and putting him onto the Red Wings. But the kind of argument there is obviously the Red Wings are more important, right? Because they're the main team. But do you guys see that argument? Do you guys understand that? Or do you think that that's kind of a wash of an argument and he should just be up because the Red Wings need help, obviously, because Sherrod and Petrie are not doing what they're supposed to be doing?
See, at that point, I just picture it as if he has, of course, he has a bunch of stuff he still has to get out of his system, a few kinks, and he's supposed to do that down in Grand Rapids. That's where you get all that stuff out. But like you just said, we have Sherrod and Petrie down here that are supposed to be these veteran players that are doing exact opposite what we were hoping they would do this year. So at this point, why not bring Edvinsson up? He's able to play with everybody. He has the momentum. Bring him up, get a couple of little kinks out, help him out up here. Worst comes to worst, he does exactly what the other two are doing, and it doesn't make our team any worse or any better. It just helps him get a little bit more of the playing time that he needs. So at that point, I'm like, screw it. Bring him up. Get him the action he needs. Let him start playing in the league. Let's get it rolling.
So then at this point, we should bring up Carter Macer because he has 5 points in 6 games.
But our defense is doing a little more struggling than our offense, I would say.
True. You're right.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Well, I think what I'll say, I'll just start with like the Griffins as a whole. I do know that they did go over to a new coach. They have, oh God, I can't remember his name, but he was the Toledo coach. Someone else can look it up for me. I forget what his name is, but yeah, they have a new coach. It's not unheard of for teams to struggle when they have new coaching. I mean, maybe he has a different style than whatever they were doing last season. Maybe I don't even want to get into that. I don't really know, but I think the struggles can kind of be attributed to that a little bit. I will say that as far as like goaltending, like, yeah, Hutchinson has not been good. Kosa's been fine. I mean, he was pretty good in the start of the season, and now he's let in a few, but I don't think that's really anything to worry about too much right now. I actually think that him getting a good workload in the AHL, that's really only a good thing. Even if he hasn't looked quite the part, like, let's be honest here, guys, he's 20 years old. You know, a 20-year-old goalie getting like the starting job in the AHL, that's really what you want to see. So that's not a bad thing at all. I will say, as far as the defense, really only Edvinsson has looked good. Like, sure, there's guys who have missed some time. Johansson missed some time. I think Wallander missed a little bit in the start of the season too. But yeah, Edvinsson, I think at this point, like, if you want him to develop, the AHL is where he has to do it. But I would much rather see him up here playing in place of Petrie, Sherratt, Hall, whoever, just rotating him in and out. I'd rather see him, if he's going to make those same mistakes, I at least know that he's going to learn from them and he's going to develop from them. Petrie is not developing anymore. This is what he is. He is not good anymore. He's, 36 years old. He's not going to be any better than what he is right now. This is just what we're getting from him for the next 2 years. So I'd much rather see Edvinsson get in. Maybe he makes a mistake, but hey, he's a young, talented defenseman. He's going to make good plays too. You just hope that those good plays outweigh the mistakes. So yes, I would much rather see him up here, and I think it needs to happen now, especially after that Ottawa game. I mean, that first period was some of the worst team defense I've seen in my entire life. It was so horrendously bad. And there's two obvious culprits there for that we've already named and dragged through the mud enough today on this podcast. But it just needs to happen. We need new people up here just to mix it up. I think Lalonde has to sit the team down and say, listen, no one's job is safe unless your name is Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, and whoever else. No one's job is safe. That's just the way it's going right now.
I mean, it's been a big move for a lot of coaches in the league so far. You see all these number one players with these big paydays getting sat on the bench. So,
right,
might as well make that motion known.
Yeah, I mean, and we even kind of saw that last year too, right? It's because last season Jake Wellman was hurt to start the season, right? And that's when Mo Seider was paired up with Ben Sherratt, and it was horrible, to say the least. Like, it was bad. Catastrophic. It dragged Seider through some horrible shifts, being paired up with that cinder block. But yeah, you're right, and that's why I'm bringing this up, is that if you bring up some new players, some fresh meat, and kind of change some things up a bit, you might get a really good pairing out of it if you bring someone up like a Simon Edvinsson, right? And so there is that argument. And so if you're going to bring them up, and that was one of my call outs, was prediction wise when we did them, was I think it was going to be before the Sweden trip, or it was going to be before Thanksgiving, that Simon Edvinsson would be called up. I have less than a week for that to actually happen. And with Jake Wallman now injured, it could happen, which is awesome for me. So we'll just have to wait and see about that. But in terms of Grand Rapids, yeah, new coaching, so it's going to take some time. Kosa, yeah, you're right. I think for him, being the starting goaltender in the AHL is fine regardless, as long as he's not putting up an 8-5 every single game, right? Where he's not getting blown out.
Right.
That's fine. He's got to grow into the role. Do I think he can finish above a 9 save percentage? Yeah, I do. The goals against might be high, but as long as you can get a 9-0 save percentage, that's good with me. That's fine. And hopefully in 2 seasons, you could be a regular on the Red Wings. That's kind of what we're hoping for at this point, because the goaltending situation in Red Wings Hockey Town is horrible. It's bad. Yeah. And we talked about that.
Very bad.
I can't remember if that was the last episode or the episode before that, but Matt, are you nervous about Husso yet? We're going into the main topics now, technically, but I just want to ask, are you nervous about Husso now?
I've had it with Husso. I want him out. I mean, congrats on the new baby, but leave Hockey Town immediately. He's been terrible. Yeah, maybe that's a little harsh. I don't know. I'm so sick and tired of watching a bad team. I'm sick and tired of it, especially with the way that we started this year. We thought it would be different. We had our power play was humming, was at 50%. Now it's like one of the worst of the entire league. Husso was looking pretty solid, and then I don't know what happened since. I don't know what's going on with Reimer. He ducked under a puck. That was just insane. Really, actually, I think the change at goalie, I mean, we can't really get rid of Husso because he's the only one who is still at the caliber to start, even though his numbers are bad. I think he still could handle the workload. It's just we're going to have to score a lot to make up for his deficiencies. I think Reimer needs to go. He needs to be on waivers. We need to end this experiment with him. And Lyon needs to get some games. I mean, Lyon went in cold. I don't think he's played since actual NHL hockey since the playoffs. Like he in round 1 against Boston. That's the last time he actually played any meaningful games. So we threw him in there extremely cold, no warm up. He did all right. I mean, he did fine. He was not the reason that they lost that game. Can't say the same about Reimer in the Ottawa game, but yeah, he looked fine. I think we need to have him as the backup. I think he could be a capable backup. I think what we just need to do is take the workload off Husso. I think it needs to be evenly split so we don't have one goalie getting shelled out there constantly. Because that is, I mean, you mentioned Ned. That is what happened with Ned when we had him as the starter because we had nobody else. So, yeah, I think that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw this out there that the last time a Wings goalie put up over a .900 save percentage or higher in a game was on November 2nd against the Florida Panthers, and we lost to them 2-0. And that was with James Reimer in net, who put up a .962 save percentage. Ever since then, it's been under a 9. Goaltending as a whole has been down, but I'll agree with you, Matt, that the last game, we'll go more in depth over the 2 Sweden games, obviously, after this. But yeah, I wouldn't place the L on Lyon. I did think that he looked a little not ready in the first period. He definitely looked like that he hadn't played in a while, seen some real game action. And so he did look a little nervous out there, but it was a different kind of pace of goaltending, right? He looked like he was coming out big. He did that quite a bit. So that was great. But by no means do I think that loss was Lyon's fault in Friday's tilt against the Toronto Maple Leafs when they lost 3-2. But yeah, this stats, I mean, it doesn't ultimately fall down on the goaltending. I mean, only James Reimer has an above 9 save percentage, .900 save percentage this season so far for the Red Wings. So Reimer hasn't exactly looked the greatest either, but that stat definitely helps the fact that he gave a shutout to the Columbus Blue Jackets his very first start. And so goaltending as a whole, I'll agree with you. Eventually, you got to get rid of one of these guys. I think the 3 goalie experiment is over. I think if you can bring up either Berggren or Edvinsson or Mazur, replacing one of those goaltenders, you have to do it at this point. I don't think it's.
Do those guys play goalie?
No, I'm not saying obviously for goalie, but we don't. It took 17 games for us to play our 3rd goalie.
Yeah.
Are you going to do that for the rest of the season? No, you shouldn't. And we're talking about how defense is probably the biggest. Personally, I think defense is the biggest problem. I don't think it's actually goaltending. I think it's defense. I think the defense is letting up. The goaltending definitely has let in a few soft goals, but every goaltender does that, right? And that's just something that happens. So I can't put all the blame on the goaltending. So I'm going to put it on the defense. In all honesty, I think Seider has looked good. He could look better. Jake Wallman has looked phenomenal. Everyone else needs to step it up. Personally, in my opinion, that's Mata. I think he's looked.
I agree.
Fine. I actually think Ghost Bear has looked fine. But yeah, I'm tossing out Mata, Sherrod, and Petrie then at this point. Even Hall too. I always forget that Hall's out there as well. So, too crowded, too old. I think having young Edmondson out there will make a difference. I think you need to have that. He looked really good towards the end of the season last year. He's looking good so far in Grand Rapids. Just a few minor tweaks that he has to make, and yeah, I think it's going to go well. I went on a tangent there. So let's just talk about the main topics, which is the 2 games in Sweden. The first game was a OT loss, 5-4 against the Ottawa Senators. Raymond did get us on the board when we were down 4-0, and we climbed all the way back up to tie it 4-4. And so that took it into OT. And then Matt, What happened next?
This is your favorite part of the whole game, man.
Yeah.
Look, 2 seconds left in overtime. What happened?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I think Reimer forgot that he's wearing a literal helmet that he wears to stop pucks from hitting his face. And he decided, well, I'm not going to use that helmet that protects me. And I'm just going to ignore the fact that my job as a goalie is to stop pucks from getting in the net. Let me just duck under this puck and just let it go in the net. I mean, the fact that you have a goalie out there who went out of his way to let a goal in, he should never play another game in the NHL. That is insane to me. I've never seen a goalie do that. I've never once seen a goalie do it. He literally got out of the way of the puck to let it in with 2 seconds left in overtime. I mean, who's to say? He was terrible that game. We probably would have lost in a shootout because, my God, he can't stop anything. But I just, well, first of all, I don't want to focus on the negatives. I mean, I know you guys wanted me to get that out, and I needed to get it out too. But the fact that they came back and got a point from that game when they were down 4-0 early in the second period, that just shows you that this team is different. This team is going to fight. I think that has to do with the coaching. The coaching really keeps them into it. They play enough of a defensive game to when they need to, they can limit chances and then also capitalize on those mistakes that the other team makes. So I think it was a pretty good game, all things considered. I just really want to see them start on time. I can't watch any more games. Like I've gotten to the point where a game will start whatever like 7:00, and I'll say to myself, I don't have to flip this on until 7:45 because they're not going to score in the first period. Like you don't need to watch the first period Red Wings games.
What is wrong with the Red Wings on first period hockey right now?
It's insane. It's like if you have tickets to a game and it starts at 7:00, you can go eat in the city. You can go get a drink somewhere. Oh no, we're going to be late to the game. No, we're not. It doesn't start at 7. They start playing at 7:30, 7:45. So I don't even know what's going on. I mean, this is the downside of the coaching. I think this falls on coaching. The fact that they're starting so late. Because you see them, like, they score. Like, they've come back in these games. It's not on the offense. I think it's just, I don't know if Lalonde isn't getting them ready to play. I genuinely don't know what it is, but the only thing I can put it on is coaching.
So I'm kind of glad that you brought that up. I don't know if coaching has to do with the late starts in the games for the Red Wings, because like I said, that they've only scored 3 first period goals in the month of November, and that's been the 7 games, and they're 2-3-2 in that time frame. However, I've been saying this for a while that every season, or not every season, obviously, but the last couple of years, every season, we've noticed that the Red Wings get a hot start, right? And this has been, especially last year and this year, right? Where the team's been good and we're excited for the season, right? Thinking like this can be a playoff team. So we get off to a hot start, right? And then what happens? We fall back into bad system plays. It happens every single time. This happened last year. And I'm sure I've said this at least once on the podcast, but I've said this outside of the podcast multiple times. I think it is time to move on from special teams coaching. And I think that starts with Alex Tanguay. The systems just aren't working anymore. Our power play isn't as good as it was at the start of the season. Granted, it was outproducing than what it was supposed to, but it hasn't been the same as it was, right? And penalty killing hasn't been as good as it should be. We're just falling into some really bad habits, and I do think that falls under special teams coaching, not so much as Lalonde, but yeah, I'm specifically calling out Alex Tanguay and whoever else the other special teams coaches, and I'm sorry, I don't know who that is off the top of my head. That's my one take on it, but I don't think that equates to the bad start. But I will follow suit with you, Matt, that yeah, it's impressive what the Red Wings are doing. They're not losing these games by large margins like they were in past, right? They are catching back up and they are making it a really fun hockey game, especially in Sweden. I think that was really cool that the Red Wings were able to come back because it looked like it was a dud game, right? Being down 4-0, I think it was 3-0 within the first, and then come the second, the Ottawa Senators scored their fourth. So it's the Red Wings are playing fun, exciting hockey, so that's awesome.
They are.
I'll give them props for that and the kudos for that, but I don't know what the Red Wings got to do to get off to a better start, but they definitely have to knock it off with all the penalties that they're taking. They're taking
Yeah.
a lot of penalties, and that's a huge issue for the Red Wings right now.
That's
And
the
I
thing
think
that's
that
killing them the most.
yeah, and I think that would help out the goaltending and the defense a lot. Obviously having less pucks going into your net helps you win more games, and so if the Red Wings can start doing that, that falls on special teams once again. And so the special teams coaching has to start making changes. If not, then changes have to be made eventually. So that's my take on that, and I just had to throw that out there. So yeah, long-winded response there, but what were we even talking about before I even started talking about that, guys? My bad.
We were talking about the Ottawa game and Reimer and the comeback and all that. So I think we're on to the Toronto game.
I think Derek wants to give his piece on Ottawa. We're skipping Derek again.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I mean, you can't really talk more about that than what you guys already touched on. For the fact that our power play, penalty kill, defense, goalie, penalty, there's a bunch of little things that need to get fixed. We're obviously a good team this year. We have a lot more capabilities than we have in the past. We just got to use them. Got to get things flowing again. I know like Zach said, power play was beyond producing at the beginning of the season. People figured out what we were doing, and they're now all stopping that power play. But for some reason, we keep doing the same thing. At that point, coach who's knowing what they're doing for the power play and the penalty kill will change it up, have multiple different plays. Nope, not the Red Wings. We're going to keep doing the same damn thing over and over and over, and hopefully it might work. Like, no, I'm sorry, guys. It worked for the first beginning of the season. Everyone figured out what we were doing, basically having Larkin pass it over to Brinket, and that got shut down. They're pretty much having two people on DeBrinket at all times, and one on Larkin. Raymond's just out there. There is hoping that he doesn't touch the puck because he basically just hits people now, which I like. But there's a lot that we have to come back on. So obviously,
Yeah,
it was a good game.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, Derek, because it does kind of speak to the fact that this team has so much more talent and depth on offense now. I mean, it used to be like 2 years ago, like if you're shutting down Larkin, you'll win the game, no matter what team you're playing against, because he was the only one who could do anything. Now, as you just said, you have people double teaming Larkin, double teaming DeBrinket. You still have Raymond out there, and that's part of the reason that Raymond has been so hot is just they don't have enough people to cover everyone on the ice. And then, not to mention if they throw him out there with Gostisbehere, you've got him at the back and he's got a cannon. Even Seider too, he can create offense from the blue line too. So that just really goes to show that, number one, like the top line is actually it's up to like the average of what a top line should be in the NHL. And then it also kind of speaks to the fact that why is the power play so bad? Because all those guys I just mentioned, they're on the first power play unit. Like that power play should be scoring more often than it doesn't. So I just think the number one thing that I want to see from this team is just consistency across the board. Not just in terms of the win-loss column, but in terms of our star players. Larkin got off to a hot start. He's cooled off a little bit. DeBrinket's been lighting up a little bit more, but he was also pretty cold. I just want to see consistency. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really is hurting the Red Wings. I mean, it's like I said, it's very impressive that it's been at least 3 to 5 times now already this season where they've been down by multiple goals and they come back, climbing back up to either tie it or win the game. So kudos to them. But I keep on saying this over and over again. How much longer is this sustainable? Because then the injuries start to rack up.
Yeah.
We just lost Wallman. There's the first major one of the season for us so far, right? Outside of Robbie Fabry, which we all knew that was going to happen. And where's he been? He hasn't really looked that good as of late either. He's kind of been quiet, but obviously he's coming back from injuries. So got to give him a little more time to prep. Going into Toronto's game, Red Wings were up 2-0 going into the third, I believe, and they lost 3-2. It's not on Alex Lyon. I think the Woolman injury definitely had something to do with it. One thing that I noticed about the Red Wings, I was actually watching it before we started recording because I completely forgot almost everything that happened in that game except for the score because it makes me cry to sleep. Yeah, going back to the power play and the penalty kill, I'll agree with you, Matt. Obviously, the power play 1 is a lot better for the Red Wings than their power play 2 is. I don't think that the power play 2 is bum shooting. I don't think that they're bad. But they definitely have to figure it out. I don't know exactly what it is that they have to do because I do know that they put Raymond into the PP1, or at least they did for a while. I can't remember if they still have him there. And then they put Seider down into the PP2 with Jake Wallman. And I thought that pairing was pretty good. I thought that was awesome to see. There's just no, I guess, the best lethal threat on the second power play unit would be Daniel Sprong at that point. I mean, the best cannon of a shot outside of Wallman, I guess. I mean, Seider can shoot, but I think Daniel Sprong has a harder shot. Jake Wallman, we've seen has
penalty shot.
pretty...
The
penalty
nice.
Yeah, going into the goals. Yeah, Daniel Sprong that was his first ever penalty shot actually, and he converts on it. And so I think, and then watching it back, they mentioned something about, I think a lot of people were hooting and hollering because I think they thought that he went backwards or something.
No, he just lost the puck for a second.
Yeah, so no, goal's a goal. So suck it, Toronto
Forward
fans.
motion, that's all we needed.
Wait, Toronto fans complained about something? Say it ain't so.
Say it ain't so.
So out of character for them.
So yeah. But no, and then talking about the penalty kill, one thing that I noticed, the Red Wings are very, very soft at allowing teams to enter into going through their blue line, right? I don't know if it was just Toronto because they have some very skilled players, but I've noticed that playing against other teams as well, that they are just very soft on the blue line when they're on the penalty kill. Every team now does the trailer hitch passing. I hate it. I think it's the dumbest. This is my one swear word fucking thing in the NHL that you do on a power play.
I hate it so much.
I hate it. And then everyone on the opposing team just stands on the blue line. The Red Wings don't. They actually just back up and allow the team to enter in through the blue line into their own zone. It's really dumb. I don't know who designed that or why you think that that's a good idea. Just, I don't know. I hate penalty killing and power play designs in NHL. I think it's just, stop doing the trailer hitch passing. That's all I asked for. Derek, what's your take on that? Do you actually like it, or what do you think the Red Wings would have to do to have a decently better power play? Because when you see them do it, it doesn't work. No, they pass it as soon as they get to the blue line to one of their teammates, and then they dump it in.
Well, the big thing with the Red Wings back in the day, like a couple of years ago, the only thing they had was the dump and chase method. So they've kind of evolved since then, because obviously the dump and chase, that's what you did when you're like in Pee Wee. I'm sorry, you just don't do that anymore when you get to the NHL. Unless you have somebody who could literally, unless you have a McDavid line out there that could literally skate past everybody and blow past them. But you really don't have that anymore. So I'm sorry, Zach, but the trailer hitch pass, the stupid little dump back onto the blue line, it's going to happen forever. It's pretty much all people got now, because it gets you ready for the stupid umbrella down low. It gets you all set up with your teammates. Your defense is supposed to be there. On paper, it looks like it works, but most of the time, you really just need one defenseman there at the top of the line, and it'll poke check it out, and then it's done. But unfortunately for the Red Wings, we don't know how to do that. Because if we put one person up there, somehow they're going to get blown by. And it's going to be like a 3-on-1 on a penalty. And we're like, fuck, what do we do?
See, the dump and chase works just fine if you are faster than the other team. But the Red Wings are one of the worst skating teams in the entire league. So that's why it doesn't work. I mean, I guess if Larkin's doing it, he can speed past people. But other than that, I guess the Brinket's a decent skater. Raymond's a decent skater. Other than that, just please don't do it.
We don't have anybody that's going to hit 22 miles an hour consistently. We got Raymond, who is getting over 20 a few times now, but that's about it. Not even Larkin.
So let's stay a little more consistent. We were talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs game, so I do apologize for going off topic, but let's get back onto it. So, yeah, Tyler Bertuzzi was one of the ones who actually scored in this game. How do you guys feel about that one? I hate it. He
because
also
of
got an
course he does.
assist, I believe, so that sucks too.
Dude, that second line for Toronto was literally our Payne or Tookus the entire third period. They got all the points for him. I'm pretty sure Nylander got 3 points. He got a point on every play again. Congrats to him for getting 16 point streak games in a row. I think 17, including today now.
Derek, that video that you sent in our Instagram group chat was so funny.
That's pretty funny.
You want 100 mil? You want 120 mil? More. It's not enough.
That's funny.
He's just standing over him like, you guys owe me so much money. And they're like, please don't do this to us, Will.
You can't afford me.
Hey, you know who can afford him next year and who's going to have like, what, 30 million in cap space? Detroit Red Wings, baby.
I will
Detroit Red Wings. So, yes, it does suck that he took over the entire game and he single-handedly beat us. It's not going to matter when he's wearing the red and white next year. But this game was frustrating in another way because this is the other thing that I hate that this team does is when they actually somehow score first and they hold the lead, then they just play prevent defense and they don't attack anymore. They're just going to say, oh, well, we've got a 2-0 lead. We'll just hold on to that, see how long we can hold on to it for. And, oh, crap, did they score 3 goals? Oh, okay, now we need to attack, and then it's too late. And Toronto is the type of team where you should be attacking all the time because their defense is not very good, and neither is their goaltending. So that strategy doesn't seem to work at all. Having the puck on Nylander, Marner, Tavares' stick, Matthews too, that's not a winning strategy. Never is. Anytime a team tries to do that, it does not result in the win. So I don't know what the game plan was there.
I mean, I think the Red Wings are trying to, it works. That method, get ahead, and you play your D. But it only works, say, if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, and you're really good this year, and you get ahead.
Exactly.
Like, okay, we're good everywhere else. Play some defense. We'll win 3-1. We don't care. They win. They know they're going to win the game when they're that far ahead. Red Wings, we don't know what it's like to be ahead first in a game. We can't play that way. We got to just keep going and going and going, packing it home, praying that the other team doesn't score another 4 goals on top of our 4 goals.
You can't.
That's kind of where we're at now.
You can't play prevent defense when you've got Schrott and Petrie out there at the same time. That ain't gonna work.
God, no. Yeah,
and you know what they
not playing freaking baseball. I'm sorry, it was Lyon this game who actually did it again. Can't
He was
give him
fine.
crap. First game after 6 months of not playing in a pro league, still did pretty well. Made it all the way to the third period without any goals. But still, holy crap. You got that fresh goalie in there. You got to be nice to him. Don't let those players, like you said, Matthews, William. Oh, God, don't let them shoot.
Yeah, I do think that, the absence of Wallman, and I think that happened in the first period. Was it the second period? Whenever it happened, it was early in the game.
It was early.
I do think that caught up to the Red Wings only having the 5 defensemen, so yeah, Lyon actually looked really good in the game, like we mentioned, and so the Red Wings didn't as a whole. They just kind of stopped, but what they say, the 2-0 lead in hockey is the most dangerous lead. So
that's right. Nobody told that the Red Wings, though.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. The Red Wings are struggling. The Red Wings will be playing their next game on Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure who that's going to be against. I can check real quick. No, I can't actually. My internet's not.
So I think while you're looking it up, I do want to mention that this has been a pretty tough schedule that they've had. The schedule after December is going to get a bit easier. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but they have San Jose, they have Columbus, I think a few times. They start playing like Philly, Montreal, so it's going to get a little easier. You just kind of look at the teams that the Red Wings have played. It's been pretty tough teams. Like we like to shit all over Ottawa, which I think they're still at the bottom, but like that's still a dangerous team if you give them time and give them the puck and possession a lot. And of course, I don't need to say anything about Toronto. They've they've been leading the Atlantic Division ever since Matthews got there, basically. We played Florida, who is, I think, second in the division. The Rangers, who are 10-1 over their last 11 games. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. I saw that this morning, and I was just like, are we sure we're not talking about a different team?
It's kind of weird how we have not heard anything about them, but they're just slowly, secretly beating the crap out of everybody.
I think I just haven't really been paying attention to them, to be honest. But yeah, we've played really, really good teams. It's going to get a little easier from here on out. I think the fact that the Red Wings are still, I think they're still third in the division after everything that we just talked about. With their, what are they now? Fourth?
No, they've dropped. We're now fifth in the division.
Okay.
Let's see. So the division goes Boston 28, Florida 23, Toronto 22, Tampa Bay 20. Tampa has a game on us, and we're 1 point back. So we have 19. Ottawa has 16, and we have 2 games on them. Montreal and then Buffalo.
So that just goes to show the margin of error in this division. It's absolutely zero. Every single point matters. But that being said, we've gone through a gauntlet, and I honestly think we've been pretty negative this episode, I think, which I didn't really intend to be that, but oh well, what can you do?
Welcome back, boys.
We said what we said. I think we've honestly done okay with this stretch. I just really want to see, like I said earlier, I just want to see more consistency. I really think this team needs a shakeup. I think Malone needs to get in there. I know he's more of like a player coach, and the player coaches, they don't tend to really, put the fire to guys' feet or anything like that. But I think at this point, there's so many deficiencies with this team. He has to put the fear of God into some of these guys. I really do. I think we just need a big shakeup because, even though we're still in November, every game matters, every point matters, especially not only in this division, but the Eastern Conference in general. I really think this team just needs to wake up and just realize, like, hey, we've got a really talented team. This is one of the most talented teams we've seen in the past 7-8 years. Like, for how bad we know this defense is, like, it's the best defense we've had since Zetterberg was still playing, to be honest, which is sad to say, but it is true. Yeah, we need to put our foot on the gas, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so the next game will be on Wednesday, November 22nd against the New Jersey Devils. I mean, it's a pretty packed end of November, and then you play the 24th against Boston, the 26th against Minnesota, the 29th against the Rangers, and then the 30th with the Blackhawks. But yeah, looking at December, Matt's right. It does look like it gets a little, in terms of where teams are. I mean, you go against Montreal, Buffalo, San Jose, 3 games in a row, which, I mean, you can include the Ottawa Senators in there if you want. Stars, St. Louis, Carolina, Philly, Anaheim, Winnipeg, Philly again. And then a couple of other games to finish out the month of December. So December looks pretty light, but in terms of how many games you're playing, I mean, December is pretty packed too. So that might take advantage of the Wings in that sense. That's just workload and seeing, like we keep on saying, I mean, these defensemen that we have, they're a little older, and so playing as many games as they are, let's hope that they can withstand it. And if not, then let's call up a Simon Edvinsson. But I think that's about it, unless Derek has a little bit more. But let's go ahead and throw it into your final thoughts there, Derek. So let's go ahead and start that off. Final thoughts, everyone.
Final thoughts, boys. Let's go Red Wings. Hopefully we figure out some kind of consistency to keep us rolling. I want us to have a consistent second period through that first and a third period, because our second periods look great. We just got to keep it going with that momentum between all of them. And hopefully we'll see something happen here. We have a 5-day break between games. So this is usually when teams will start making some changes if they actually need to. So I am not going to be surprised if we see some big movements here coming up here in the next couple days, especially moving people up from the Grand Rapids Griffins up to the Red Wings here. So keep an eye out. We might be seeing an Edmonton getting pulled up for the game against New Jersey. I'd almost say that I'm like 80% positive that might happen at this point. So that is my final thought on that scenario.
100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My final thought.
Yeah, my final thoughts are, Same as Derek. Let's go Red Wings. I mean, let's go Lions. They have the chance to be 8-2. Like, at least we have one team that is not disappointing us. So that's really cool. Speaking of teams that disappoint us, well, I guess not you guys, but me and personally, the Islanders stink. This is your chance, both of you, to shit all over me for being an Islanders fan because they're horrible. Old man Lou needs to just retire and be in a recliner with a blanket and some soup. Lane Lambert needs to go coach the ECHL River Rats or whatever. He needs to leave. And hopefully the Islanders can just get Macklin Celebrini because they
I mean, if you
absolutely
want to
stink
tell
out
us
loud.
Sorkin over to us, we won't say no.
But yeah, I think, like I said, we were pretty negative on this episode. I didn't want to be too negative coming in here, but we got to tell it like it is. There's still deficiencies with this team. No matter how far they have come, they still have a little ways to climb. I guess the good thing is Danielson is looking pretty good in the WHL. Sandin Pellikka looks like the next Erik Karlsson. I'm just going to say it right now. He is insane. He's got 7 goals, and I think it's 15 or 16 SHL games. That's insane for a kid who I think he's only still 19 to do. So he's a revelation. He's going to be insane in Detroit, and we'll see him sooner rather than later. That's about it. That's really about it. I just hope that, like you said, Derek, I hope I see Edmondson soon. I hope we see Berggren. And I hope we get some wins soon, because we need it.
Nice. Yeah, my final thoughts are Trace time. Let's go Red Wings. Like Matt said, not really too much else other than, not really trying to make this episode negative, but we're trying to talk about what's actually been going on, right? There's no sugarcoating here. The Red Wings definitely have not looked great as of late since our last recording. And so, we're going to pick on them a little bit, right? And so that's what you got to do, right? And so this is relevant. Not everyone's happy with the Red Wings. There are some bright spots, right? And so we probably could have done a better job at highlighting those, but I felt like talking about some of the things that we've been noticing are just as important, right? Than talking about how Lucas Raymond has looked really good as of late, right? And that's a huge bright spot, right? Shane Gostisbehere has looked phenomenal still. I can even continue on. I didn't talk about how Dylan Larkin's been on a cold streak. We didn't talk about how Alex DeBrincat was on a cold streak, and he's
broken it now.
Slowly been putting up some goals too, right? And so Daniel Sprong has looked good. JT Compher has looked really good. There's been a lot of bright spots, and we definitely could have covered those. But like I said, we want to cover how the Red Wings currently have looked as a whole, in terms as a whole team, not just individually on player standpoint. And so I think it was very important for us to say how we felt and what we've seen the last couple weeks since our last recording. And so, let us know what you guys think as well. I know a lot of you on Twitter, especially Twitter, have not been very happy with the Red Wings and how the system's been lately, but hopefully Lalone and company figure it out. But that's all I got. Those are my final thoughts. So with that being said, all right. Yeah, looks like everyone's got to go. All right. We want to thank you all for returning. If you are returning, if you are new, thanks for joining us. Make sure you are hitting that thumbs up button. You are rating us 5 stars wherever you are watching or hearing us, if that's YouTube or Spotify. Thanks once again, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Go Red Wings. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Go Red Wings. Bye, everybody.